This is an interesting one. The man at the center of a dramatic flood rescue may now sue the people who saved his life. I kid you not. A Colorado man pulled out of his submerged car. We showed this live as it happened. It was quite dramatic. This man was upside down in his car. The rushing flood waters threatened to engulf him. The whole thing was caught on camera. There he is as he was finally lifted out of the car. They broke the window to get him out. But Roy Ortiz is the gentleman's name, and he is now claiming that officials ignored pleas from his wife and brother to help him, and that it took hours for them to show up. Anna Yum is a former prosecutor, and Bradford Cohen is a criminal defense attorney. Welcome to you, Anna and Bradford. So,
morning, Martha.
I remember watching this. We all breathed a huge sigh of relief when that man was pulled from that car and he collapsed in exhaustion on the side of that bank. And some great work by these rescuers. If they did ignore pleas, Anna, from his wife and brother, does he have a case against them?
You know, Martha, I think it's going to be a tough case. I mean, there's a difference between whether someone can sue and whether someone should sue. Can Mr. Ortiz sue? Sure. Whether he should sue or not, well, I think that remains to be seen. Keep in mind, he hasn't filed suit yet. He's just preserving his right. And as we know, government entities are typically immune from liability, but there are certain exceptions. And if an exception does exist, as Mr. Ortiz is saying, then he must preserve his right within 6 months of the incident. So that's something that remains to be seen. I think it's going to be a tough sell to the jury, though, to say that his rescuers were negligent.
Yeah, I mean, this if it weren't for these men, Bradford, at least it appears on this video, and I'm sure a jury would be interested to see this video, he wouldn't have survived, most likely.
Exactly. Anna's a lot nicer than I am because I think this is idiotic. I mean, you look at this guy who was in a situation where his life was in danger, and these individuals put their lives in danger to save him. Now he wants to go back and say they should have done more. They should have rescued me sooner. They should have put warnings up. You know, there are cases where rescuers actually sue individuals who they rescue, saying that their negligence put them in a situation where they shouldn't have been in. So, you know, this guy wants to file a lawsuit. If I was on the side of the rescuers, I'd file a counterclaim against him, which both of these lawsuits would be idiotic. If I was a judge, I'd throw them out in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, you know, the man says, look, you know, he isn't sure if he's going to sue, but hey, he's got a lot of medical bills to pay, Anna, and there's this feeling, this sentiment that we hear too much of, and thanks to, you know, people like you guys, some people might say, that everybody thinks they should sue.
That's right. It's almost as though we live in such a litigious society, right, Martha?
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing.
I think we do.
I think Mr. Ortiz would be better off claiming that perhaps the government was negligent in not putting up signs or warning signs of a dangerous road condition as opposed to going after these rescuers. Because if you think about it, his car was not the only car that went over that roadway. There were other cars in that circumstance. So if he can prove that if the government knew about this dangerous condition, had reasonable time to do something about it, and didn't do it, then he might have a stronger cause of action in that regard. But I agree with Bradford in that I think going after the rescuers, I don't really know how far he's going to go with that one.
Yeah, Bradford, what do you think about Anna's line of thinking there?
I think that's more of an appropriate line, but I also think that people in America should start taking responsibility for their own actions instead of thinking about suing who they need to sue. You know, this guy was driving down a road. He knew there was flash floods in the area. He knew there was flooding in the area. He should take responsibility for it. Maybe have someone negotiate the hospital bills on his behalf or something else, try to raise money. But to do it this way, to file a notice, I just don't think it's the proper way to do it.
You know, I'm curious, Anna, what was said, you know, when you see him collapse on the bank there, if he turned to them and said, thank you for saving my life, or thank you, or if he turned to them in that moment and said, you know, how come you guys didn't answer our phone calls? My wife has been calling for hours. How significant would those conversations be?
I think it would be significant because it would be talking about his state of mind at the time. You know, if he did say thank you so much, and of course the rescuers could use that to their advantage and say, well, he wasn't saying that we took a long time back then. But on the flip side, he could say, well, I was in such a state of duress that was the first thing that I said. I was so gratified that they came. But after thinking about it, maybe it took so long. So those statements could be used against him or for him, depending upon the context.
We'll see what happens. Bradford, Anna, thanks so much, you guys. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.